Oliver was an ordinary young man, but deep inside his heart lived a fear that slowly consumed him every single day. It wasn't the fear of darkness, heights, or loneliness. It was the fear of failure, the fear of being judged by others, and above all, the fear of never achieving his dreams. Oliver had always wanted to write. Stories, poems, thoughts. His mind was constantly overflowing with ideas. On quiet nights, he would sit on the rooftop, staring at the sky, imagining the stories forming in his heart. But there was one problem. He was terrified of sharing them with the world. What if people don't like my writing? Or what if they laugh at me? What if I fail? These questions stood guard over his dreams, stopping him from moving forward. One day at college, an announcement was made. The teacher asked every student to read something they had written in front of the class. Oliver had a beautiful story, one he had written over many sleepless nights, but the moment his name was called, his hands began to shake, his heart pounded loudly, and his voice completely froze. He stood there in silence. The room fell quiet. "You may sit down if you're not ready," the teacher said gently. Oliver sat back down, but in that moment, it felt like he had lost to himself. That day, he returned home feeling defeated. He barely spoke during dinner. His mother noticed the worry in his eyes. "Oh, what's wrong? My son?" "You've been very quiet today," she asked. At first, Oliver tried to avoid the question, but then suddenly everything spilled out. His dream, his fear, and his failure in class. His mother smiled softly and said, "Do you know what fear really is?" Oliver nodded. "It's the thing that stops us." She gently replied, "No. Fear is the sign that you're standing close to something important." Oliver looked at her in surprise. She continued, "A fear will always exist. A brave person isn't someone who never feels fear, but someone who moves forward despite it." Those words quietly settled deep inside Oliver's heart. The next day, Oliver was sitting in a park when he noticed an elderly man teaching children how to fly kites. One child kept dropping his kite and became frustrated every time. Laughing kindly, the old man said, "If you're afraid of the kite falling, you'll never get to see it dance in the sky." Those words felt like a message meant just for Oliver. That night, he made a decision. He would no longer run away from his fear. He reread his story. He improved certain parts, rewrote a few lines, but this time he made a promise to himself. "Even if I feel afraid, I will not stop." A few days later, the college announced a literary competition. Oliver's heart began to race. It was the same opportunity and the same fear. That night he couldn't sleep. Two voices argued inside him. One whispered, "Don't do it. You'll fail." The other said, "If you don't try, you'll regret it forever." In the end, Oliver filled out the form. On the day of the competition, his hands felt cold. Before stepping onto the stage, he closed his eyes and remembered his mother's words. "Feeling afraid? That's good. It means this dream matters to you." As he stepped onto the stage, his heartbeat grew louder. All eyes were on him. For a few seconds, his mind went completely blank. Then he took a deep breath and began to read. At first, his voice was shaky, but slowly it grew stronger. With every sentence, his confidence began to rise. When he finished, the hall fell silent for a moment, and then applause filled the room. He may not have won the competition, but that day, Oliver won something far greater. His first victory over fear. Later, the teacher placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "Keep writing, Oliver. You have real talent." That day, Oliver learned an important truth. Fear never completely disappears. But when you face it, it doesn't weaken you, it makes you stronger. Today, Oliver isn't a famous writer, but he writes every day, he learns every day, and most importantly, he faces his fear every day. Because he has learned one simple truth. Dreams only come true when you're willing to walk through fear to reach them.